Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another edition of Big Kris Live, Episode 2. What the heck is a trichome? And to answer that question are my friends, Genoa and Lorenzo from Calyx and Trichomes. It is a storefront, cannabis storefront in Kingston, Ontario. Welcome to the podcast.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
I love that Lorenzo is the first one to jump up because he only found out it was a video podcast on the way down. He was just like, what do you mean we're going to be on video?
I had to borrow a shirt just to get on the air.
This is what he wears. This is weekend uniform.
That's okay. So for those who need some clarification, you guys own your very own storefront for cannabis. And as long as I have known both of these fine people, and I would say, when did we first meet? Like
2011?
No, it was before that. 10?
10?
Yeah,
10?
something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, we met obviously because at the time they owned a storefront called 420 Kingston where you guys sold various paraphernalia. It was kind of a little tiny hole in the wall. And since then, I have seen their, I want to call it an empire, grow. You guys are laughing. You guys laugh this off. But seriously, the grind that they have for increasing their business, they weren't just happy having a shop and being profitable. They wanted to grow that shop into the corner lot of a building. And then they wanted to open up a vape lounge on top of that corner lot. I mean, you guys are very industrious. You guys are hungry, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we've grown the business.
Yeah.
I guess since we've had it. We've just been lucky to have specific opportunities present themselves at different times and just nothing to lose.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that I admire in a way is that nothing to lose attitude that you guys have had. And from the second I've known you, the whole vision was we want cannabis to be legal and we want to be able to sell it. I mean, that's the way I interpret it. How would you agree?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We started 420 when we were under the Harper government still. So cannabis was more illegal. Growing cannabis was more highly punished than pedophilia at the time. So to go from that to becoming sort of politically active and hopefully getting Justin Trudeau elected on the promise of legalizing cannabis.
Yeah, and that happened. And I mean, I remember that was huge. But then also the second stage of that was the Ontario situation. And I remember for a minute there, it looked like it was going to be government-run pot shops in our province. And that would have cut you guys right out of the mix.
Oh, yeah. We were really, really worried, I would say, back in 2017 after the Cannabis Act was announced. That really made it, because we were also a seed bank for a while, and it made it explicitly clear that would not be allowed, that seeds would be counted like cannabis with legalization. So we knew that there was obviously going to be some sort of sacrifice, but with the Liberal government in place, they had possibly the worst plan and has since been proven to be, public sale has been proven to be really terrible for other provinces. So it's good that we didn't go in that direction. And the long shot Doug Ford won.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too. This whole thing, your whole reason for business ownership now, really in a lot of ways, is a bipartisan things. It came about from both federally from the Liberals, and then it came down through the province. Yeah. And if I can immediately here bring up the painting that you guys had commissioned.
Yeah.
So I've got it here. Take a look at this. I blurred out Doug Ford's special area.
You censored it?
Yeah, sorry. I listen.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Where am I?
Listen, I don't want to get flagged
This
on
is-
episode 2 here. Okay, like I don't want to get too
First
much.
of all, that is a joyous celebration of legalization.
Sure.
It's when we decided and conceived of the idea to have this painting in particular, which to us made the most sense to depict our feelings towards legalization, and especially because we were sort of shut out of legalization for the first year and a bit because of the lottery system that had happened. So like during that time, we made like a lot of promises, like we're gonna celebrate at this restaurant. Obviously didn't happen because of COVID, which is hilarious. It still hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And we decided like we're gonna get this painting made, and like this is like we conceived of it. As soon as we get our license, we're gonna get this. This will be what my first paycheck goes toward. That was
the
for
first.
real.
That was the first paycheck. Was
Yeah, that was for real. That was like the biggest priority
Right,
for me
right.
was to get this commission. So like a girl that used to work for us, she's an artist and very talented.
Yeah, give credit to the artist.
Yeah, it's Jess Sherman. She's done a really beautiful job of the actual painting, and she like was like on the right wavelength. Like she really understood the vision, and it was like the whole time Lorenzo was like, how good do you think this is going to be? Like how, like what?
He was questioning. Of course,
He was like-
Lorenzo, if I could just say for a second, Lorenzo, obviously you guys are partners and
Yeah.
in life and in business.
Yeah.
But Lorenzo, like you always have the quiet sort of, I don't want to say, like Genoway, obviously you're very calculated and good at things, but I think Lorenzo, you're a bit more of the voice of reason.
I'll take it for sure. Thanks.
I don't like that compliment.
No, you don't like that?
No, I wouldn't say that anything's calculated, but
Right.
I have foresight, I would say.
Right.
I would say that I've been wrong about a lot of things.
Right,
also.
okay.
Some things stick, which, you know, like we're glad we were right about weed, I guess.
But no, we were on the same page when it came to the painting for sure.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good. That's good.
As long as it could be executable. I was like, well, you know, like worst case scenario, like we'll just keep it in the office and it'll just be like a funny thing. For
Hang
us.
it in the bathroom. you
Yeah,
know?
like just completely like it would be hidden, but we would still like treasure it. But like she delivered on every level because like the whole thing was I was like, okay, like if I showed you the Instagram conversation we had, I was like, okay, this is what I want. I want Justin Trudeau and Doug Ford as like creation of Adam, and I want Justin Trudeau to be the godlike figure, and I wanted Doug Ford
to be the Adam.
because that is also like an exact representation of what happened. And I am a non-religious person.
No,
completely.
but the symbolism,
the
at least, you know, it's
symbolism, yeah.
unavoidable.
Exactly, and in fact, I prefer my version. And we had a lot of like the only negative, like most people love it and think it's amazing, but there were a couple of people who thought that, you know, that I was celebrating specifically people who had previously jailed or advocated for the jailing of cannabis and blah blah blah.
Oh,
and I
see.
shouldn't be applauding
Listen,
them.
you can't do anything that has a tongue-in-cheek vibe anymore.
Honestly, it was too perfect, so I don't care about that. And then also there were people who were saying it was fat phobic to have Doug Ford as the naked person. Like, why did he have to be the one? And the thing is that it was an exact representation of the painting.
Well, yeah,
So
and if you put Trudeau there with his shirt off or with his dinger hanging out, then
I would have gotten the same thing. Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you would have would have gotten a different crowd saying,
Exactly.
"Oh, you're glorifying our his hair or
Exactly.
hair down there."
Yeah, so I can't like.
Yeah,
I guess good art is meant to like evoke a response, and it definitely has.
that's good. That's
and
a good
so
sign.
yeah, it's like the last thing you see when you leave the store because it's like it deserves its own spot. Like it turned out so perfectly. Like as soon as she showed up one day with it, I loved it so much. Like I love it so much.
You just fell in love with it like
It's like
immediately, yeah.
honestly one of my most favorite things that I have ever been given. Like
so good.
it's my favorite. It's my favorite thing. It was definitely the best like way to spend literally $420 of my first paycheck.
So again, back to the, just not to stay on the political theme too much. Like, I mean, we're just so politically charged these days, but post, like I say, you know, it was a bipartisan effort in terms of it all ended up with your, you know, various political parties, you know, this ended up with a store license for you guys, but it wasn't all like easy street. Like there was that lottery situation in Ontario for licenses to own stores, which I know that at the time it was super frustrating for you guys.
Yeah, it was really the whole thing with the lottery, you know, with the election year coming up. Had Ontario expanded stores at the same rate as, say, Alberta did, then, you know, the Liberals would be able to claim victory over their cannabis. And so, like, because it was such a mess when the election was happening, you might have noticed that there was no discussion of legalization being a full success or anything like that,
Right.
especially in Ontario, because it hadn't been up to that point. There was only 25 stores open. So it was really, you know, it was definitely hard. We definitely knew as soon as the lottery was introduced that
it was going to be a tough road to get that license, right?
Well, we didn't know how long it was going to be. Like, that was the main issue. So it was a matter of, like, a lot of people maintaining pressure to get more stores open. And it wasn't just like private people like us and people like the Cannabis Council of Canada and Normal Canada. It was also licensed producers who actually had the money to lobby for this stuff. So, and it was also bigger retail chains that eventually wanted to be able to take over Ontario.
Yeah, and that for me, that's the thing that the lottery. Oh God, I don't want to go down conspiracy lane here, but okay, let's call it a conspiracy. I felt like at the time, okay, this is baseless,
Yeah.
okay, but I felt like at the time there was the lottery thing seemed like some kind of a trick to let those bigger sort of chainy corporate, those big money, big cannabis, is there such a thing? Sure there is.
Oh, there is now, yeah, for sure.
To let big cannabis sort of take the reins on that, whereas I don't take this derogatorily, the mom and pop idea of pot shops were sort of left in the wind, right?
Independents really were, but then, you know, ultimately outside of the lottery, and separate from the lottery, which also, by the way, happened in Alberta that way. It's just Alberta switched to open system much quicker than Ontario did, which is why they proliferated as quickly as they did. But in Ontario, we have the best plan in the whole country. Like, it's even our plan, and the way that it's allowed when it's fully operational is even better than Alberta's. Ultimately, lottery aside,
the end game was the best that there was.
It is the best.
Yeah,
It's the best. I should say it is the best for private owners like us who need to be able to compete. You know, there's a lot of negativity that comes out of this and the sort of slow rollout. And honestly, now that I'm on the other side of it, I can see that you know, it was definitely a little bit of red tape and waiting for the other shoe to drop and watching the news every day, waiting for an announcement. And that was definitely like really stressful. But now on the other side of it, like, they're trying to make it like a good, robust economy. Like, they are trying.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like, the lottery thing aside, we do seem to have the best design. And that's the way I had envisioned legalization years ago when we first met even, was it would just be a thing. You know, like, just like any other vice, whether it's cigarettes or booze or whatever, it's just out there, right? And I never really believed in the government LCBO kind of situation. I've always thought it was stupid to have government, like, I'm going to go to the beer store to buy beer. I'm going to go to the liquor store to buy liquor. Do you go to the nut store to buy nuts?
Yeah.
Do you know, like, how much are we going to divide things down is the way I sort of look at it, right? I think it should be, you know, like, whoever wants to get out there and get a license to do these things should do these. So I was so in your corner from day one, guys.
Yeah, like having government-run stores is an idea out of the 1920s. You know, it's terrible. They should not be selling drugs. They're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Anybody who's worked in government can tell you that they're not more competent at doing anything really. So
Well, and the thing that really burned my ass too was, do you remember at the tail end of the Liberal provincial government, they had that sketch of the because they were going to full on build if the Liberals were reelected, they were going to full on rebuild like brick and mortar pot shops, the same as we have brick and mortar beer, like
They
brick
wanted
and mortar.
40. They thought 40 for the whole province.
Yeah.
How many are in the GTA now?
I don't know. I stopped counting, right?
And honestly, like every place, how many places can you buy alcohol? That outside of the 666 LCBO licensed stores, you can buy alcohol at any restaurant, at most grocery stores now. So like,
Yeah.
it's definitely having the government control. Like there's the only positive, like to be ever optimistic as I always am, the only positive to having the government has as a central controller is so that smaller guys like us can actually compete because they give us an allotment. They allow us, like it would be great to be able to forge different relationships with different LPs, and I'm sure that people in our position who already have a lot of relationships with those people already would be able to do that. But for new people coming on board and to keep this industry competitive, having a central supplier to ensure that everybody has access or the similar or the same access to cannabis, because the way that it happens is every week we get what's called a buy sheet. And there's an allotment that you assume every store in the province has access to. And we assume it's the same, but it sort of changes from day to day depending on what stuff becomes available that day.
I love your shop, by the way, and it does have that mom and pop feel, like that friendly. And maybe it's just because I've known you guys for so long, and because my best friend works at the shop for you guys.
Yeah.
He's the charismatic guy who is like. I mean, this doesn't do his title service, but he's like the Walmart greeter. He's the first guy. Sorry, no.
he's 76 years old.
What if Pat was okay? First of all, Kris is not very good at giving compliments.
No.
What did he call me earlier?
What is,
I can't remember. That's the good thing about having a conversation with a stoner, I guess. But either way, Pat is not going to love that.
no, I'm sorry, Pat. No, but he is sorry. He's the face of your franchise. How about that? He is the first thing that you.
He's
the
one
first
of them,
thing.
yep.
He's the first person that you see often when you walk through the door.
He makes a good impression.
And he's a great salesperson, and he sold cars for years before he came to work for you guys. But anyways, it does have that. And the point I was trying to get is a friendly atmosphere. Maybe it's because I know you guys and I know the staff, but like I do love what you guys are doing, and if I'm not mistaken, the numbers are in your favor in the city of Kingston. Like you guys are perfectly situated. You guys had the idea, the plan. They're between Party City and the LCBO is where you can find calyx and trichomes. And like that is just a recipe for money right there, if you ask me.
Well, it was funny. We were going to go to the RioCan Center because when the whole 40 stores and private or public sale was going to happen, we thought the only way, we didn't really know how we were going to be able to compete with Kathleen Wynne selling weed and bongs. So we had decided that the best thing for us to do would be to move next door and compete with them. So we found out where their Kingston location was going to be, and then we were going to just have like a way better selection of other stuff.
So you were going to go head to head with the government shop.
Yeah. selling bongs because we that was all we were allowed to sell. So yeah, like, because I can definitely sling a bong better than Kathleen Wynne, obviously.
And people would be walking out with product looking for additional accoutrements.
Yeah, even that. Yeah, and I think that we were also correct because like we definitely have a more robust selection than some of the less experienced shop owners that have come online.
Yeah, you want to talk experience. I mean, Lorenzo's wearing an orange Tangy t-shirt right now. Like, you guys know.
I only wear Bong and Weed Company swag. That's
he only wears shirts if he got them for free.
But, But you guys are rocking logos all the time. Yeah. You guys are in the industry, and you guys hustle out there. Like, I've never known someone personally anyways, that has a Rolodex like you guys in the cannabis game. Like it's impressive, right? I mean, again, I'm not that deep into it, but I'm always impressed with you guys and your knowledge. And like, you know, if I ever have any questions, I know exactly who I'm calling, right?
Well, it's definitely like a small community, and like, you know, it's just a matter of like people connecting really easily with cannabis, I guess. So
yeah, I mean, it's always been a social thing for a lot of people, right? So it makes sense that you guys have a social atmosphere in your shop. Yeah. And can I just, what was the magazine? What is it?
Mugglehead Media.
Mugglehead Media did a story on your shop.
Yeah.
Here it is right here. Behold, a weed store that looks like it actually sells weed. And then there's that big sign, the Calyx and Trichomes Cannabis, the big lit up sign there. Like that is cool. Is that still lit up?
Okay,
oh no! It's not lit up.
Here's the problem. Here's the issue. So we were just minding our own business with all of our permits in place, and an electrical inspector, I think he was going to stop to get some fish and chips next door because there's a restaurant next door. And he saw the sign and he just took it upon himself to inspect the sign. And so now we have to get it because it was made in Australia.
Oh, okay.
So we have to get it rewired.
She's not street legal.
She's not street legal. We took the restrictor plate off.
Give it a little more juice.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So we have to turn the sign off or find it. We have to figure. I'm working with. I have a guy. So
yeah, well, we all gotta have a guy. We got a guy.
I got a guy for everything.
But what I love is it says everything I need to say about what you guys do professionally. Behold, a weed store that looks like it actually sells weed. You are people who actually know weed, and you're selling weed. And I don't think there are as many people out there like that.
I definitely think we're in a unique position and this is where, you know, the first people that were doing business in the province that sort of either lucked their way in through the lottery or bought their way in through buying those lottery winners out now have to look out for people like us that were doing this before. And we're not the only ones. Friends of ours, one of my girlfriends, her name's Katie. Katie Perry actually is her name.
No, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. That's
she loves it, honestly. She rocks it, and she's a completely you don't. It's like the other Katy Perry's like Katy Perry who when you meet this Katy Perry.
Okay.
So, anyways, she's opening up a chain of 7 stores across Western and Southern Ontario. She's just opened up one in Niagara. There's another one coming in Welland or St. Catharines next week. She's really killing it as well. And she's also an activist, and she's hired activists as well. So now that people who have owned dispensaries and know weed are actually coming online, now that we've actually got a shot, now the other guys have to start working a little bit harder. And it's not going to be as easy the people will always go where it's convenient. So lucky for us, we have the best location for sure.
Yeah, and location, but knowledge. I think there's a factor of a lot of things. Customer service too. Yeah. I think there's a lot of different factors that is why you guys are, if I'm not mistaken, numbers wise, the top of the pile in the city of Kingston.
Well, we've always been top of everything.
And like me. You guys, when you're passionate about something, you go all the way with it, right? That's you don't sleep until
We're definitely all in on this weed thing for sure. We've been betting the farm on weed for the last 10 years.
Was there? And you mentioned the activist thing. Was there a moment as activists that you guys thought it was never going to happen? Did you guys ever think about giving up ever?
No, it's a domino effect. We knew that it was going to happen. It was just a matter of time. I'm glad it's happened. Now that we're on the other side of it, it feels faster. Now that we're not waiting anymore, and we're just trying to now time flies. But yeah, when you're in lottery purgatory, it's it feels like forever. When you're waiting for laws to change, it feels like forever. But now that it's on the other side, in retrospect, it didn't really take very long. It was 10 years, basically.
Yeah, but still, as long as I've known you guys, and even before that, I think, now correct me on the story here, you guys met at a call center in Kitchener.
Yeah.
You guys, that's where you guys first met as like, what are you looking at him for?
Yeah.
Yeah, you tell us some nice stories for one. tell him a romantic story, darling.
I don't know how
I think she's throwing it on you because she wants to hear some romance. She's throwing it your way.
What do you want to know?
Oh, you're the worst.
You both, well, for starters, here, I'll start the story. You both hated working at a call center.
Yeah.
How about
Yeah.
that for starters?
We
The
really-
only corporate environment we could succeed in was our own. So we just
Yeah.
start our own business and just keep going.
I think that's the mark of any entrepreneur is when you can't
Right.
work in somebody
Right.
else's. It's just like, you know, I don't want to. The telecommunication company we worked for together shall remain nameless, but honestly, they were walking around. It was a really silly, like trivial. Seemed like really trivial work that you couldn't take seriously, and you're not curing
Yeah.
cancer. Like, chill out.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was not the right work environment for
No.
me because I didn't
No.
respect it, and
And so then, like, after that, was that it? You guys romantically got together. And
Well,
then how
yeah.
long was it until you guys decided that we have to go into business together, too?
well, we were friends for 6 months, and going into business was also like the start of our relationship, basically.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Yeah, again, I'm
Guaranteed to work
clarity.
out perfectly. every
Yeah,
time.
like really going double all in. Like,
Yeah, like I knew a punk band drummer one time, and this is a common drummer thing. He's like, yeah, so I'm moving in with my girlfriend. We just met last week, and I was like, wow, that's pretty fast. But you guys
Yeah.
were like, yeah, I just met her a couple months ago, and we're starting a business
Yeah,
together.
exactly.
Yeah, that was basically it.
All right, well, hey, man, and here you guys are, though. Like again, teamwork
When
makes
you know,
the
you
dream
know.
work. When you know, you know.
That's it.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk about the activism, you guys have some, you know, like I say, you've got that Rolodex too. Like I've seen you guys hanging with the Prince of Pot, the Princess of Pot. Like you guys have been worldwide. You guys have been around the world even.
Yeah.
How many times you guys been to Amsterdam?
4, 5, 4.
With Amsterdam, yeah, you after the first couple times.
You know,
I was gonna say
handful of
trip was
times.
like-
handful of
4 or
times.
5. It's a blur.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite. One of my favorites. Honestly, every place we go, yeah,
We were lucky to have this set up where an Amsterdam trip was a business trip.
yeah,
Yeah,
So that
perfect.
that was the genius
Perfect.
of it.
Yeah.
So we were able to visit our business partners out there who are also our friends, and you know, we were also able to go to like all over Spain, like more places in Spain that we have been that we haven't been at this point.
Now, you guys, I remember, again, you're going to have to refresh my memory, but I remember, I think it was your first time to Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
You guys came back, and did you guys go to a sex show or something there?
Oh yeah, a live sex show.
What would, okay, like, I remember the story being a good one. Refresh me and the
honestly,
audience.
I love Amsterdam, and I love like the red light district. Like it's really like it's a sight to see. Honestly, it's cool to see it like from the canal in a boat, but it's also cool to walk around. And like honestly, I've never even been to like a strip club before.
So this, again, you're all about like
I go all
jumping
in.
right into
I
things.
go all in.
Yeah.
Like now I can't even imagine going to a strip club because it's like I've seen like a woman pull a flag out of her vagina. So I don't want to like. Okay, so the funny thing.
Okay, more on the flag. Yes, we need more on this story. This part of the story, please.
Okay, so it's Casa Rosa, and there's a couple of anyways, when you're in the red light district in this very specific area, there's like a lot of workers and red light windows, which is like in itself a lot to see, but then there's also different like shows that you can see. So there's the banana show, which we've also been to on the more recent trip that we went.
Is it exactly as it sounds? Like
Yeah.
it's what I think it is? Okay.
Obviously.
All right.
It's sort of like, for that, you're like, you see it for like 20 minutes and you still got like 25 minutes left and you get kind of bored.
You start looking at your watch, like,
Yeah, like,
how much
honestly-
time we got here?
So we're walking around the red light district and there's this like live sex show that women get in for free, but men have to pay $50.
That's fucking not fair. That's
it was free.
that's like a cheap shitty
Yeah,
dance
it
club
was
that
something
has
like that.
no cover for girls.
I
Girls
got-
under 25, no cover.
Yeah, and I also got we got penis lollipops. And
Oh,
we
well, that's
walked-
cool. That's
yeah, it's like hospitality. So then we walked into this theater. It just looked like any sort of old timey movie, like the downtown Kingston movie theater before they renovated. And then
okay, yeah.
old timey.
Yeah, yeah.
And basically you're walking in and there's probably somebody just having sex on stage.
Wow.
The lights are all on. So
for the average person, lights on sex, I think. I don't know.
I mean, it's just
Not for me.
there's probably 40 other people watching too, and it's
Yeah.
kind of loud, but you don't hear them. You hear whatever techno music that they're playing.
But what does a professional sex person do differently? If you're a pro, you provide sex as a stage show, as a service.
Oh, you don't finish, and you wave at the end instead.
Yeah.
What? What?
Yeah. That's how they do it differently.
Do they want curtsy on the way out? Or
No.
see ya?
So the song is over, and then they just pull apart, stop,
No.
wave, and then the curtains will close and it'll open. It'll be another act, and then they'll go for 4 or 5 minutes.
Wow.
The same thing.
Wow.
They stop, wave, and then it could be anything. It could be a couple, or it could be the flag thing.
Yeah, the flag. But there's also no. Do they do the animal shows in Amsterdam?
No,
No, they
there's
don't.
no
Okay, all right. So,
bestiality.
listen,
I think you're thinking of
Is it Mexico?
Yeah.
And where is that?
I don't want to say because I don't want
Yeah,
to.
no
it's
comment.
that-
Episode
that-
2, we're canceled.
Yeah, I don't want to. That is
All right, somewhere in the world there's an animal show. Let's just say that.
Yeah, in Amsterdam, also, all the waitresses are jacked bouncers.
yeah,
So you're
at the live sex show. So there's no sexy waitresses bringing you drinks.
No, it's a bouncer.
It's
Here's
a bouncer
your drink, and checks
making
to see if you're
sure.
masturbating or not.
Yeah.
And, basically.
That's fair, though. I would understand that they would need someone like that. Yeah.
So it's so you see it happen, and you see maybe 8 different skits or whatever that are 5 or 6 minutes.
Skits?
Yeah, we'll just call them skits.
Like Mary Poppins? Do they
Well,
parody
There's never, because it's Amsterdam's a world city, so it's not just English, so there's
Yeah,
no
that's true, yeah.
speaking, there's none of that.
Oh, it's all right. Of course, they keep it language neutral.
Language neutral, yeah.
Ah.
So I don't know if their acting is necessarily also what.
How do you mime? How do they mime? How would you mime? I want it in the ass. I don't get
Oh, it's not really.
How would
It's
you
more
mime
of a-
that?
they have an act or whatever that they're gonna do. So if it was just a couple, they would just be a couple doing it doggy style on a rotating bed, so you can see it from all angles.
Man, that takes practice. Rotating beds.
Yeah,
Imagine
it's pretty dizzy.
that's
the other
motion
thing.
sickness.
So you get through the revolution of 8, and then it goes to the act 1 again. So then you know that they're just doing it in sets of 4 minutes. So side note, we were doing a little tour in the boat, around Amsterdam, and a guy that was British who was funny on the boat was telling a story about how he had a job interview at that same sex place.
No way.
And it was
It's always a Brit.
Yeah, so he said that the ad said that you get paid $400 for however many hours of work, but what they don't tell you is that 8 hours of work is spread out over 6 days or whatever, because you're 4 minutes at a time.
Oh no! So you can't even work a full day.
Of course not.
I guess.
Could you bang somebody for 8 hours? That's crazy. It
Listen.
sounds great, but
I just figured with the amount of material that's on Pornhub, I just figured that there are people out. I thought that's what a professional sex person could do. I thought that's what made them a professional.
they definitely are.
Well, you should never meet your heroes, I guess.
Yeah.
See,
You're wrong for it all
that's
day.
Lorenzo. He just sits in the corner, sits, analyzes, waits for his moment to just pop a line out there. I like it.
But the best, okay, so then when we went with Shane recently, who's
Right.
our other manager, Pat, well, not manager, but key holder, we call them, because
Yeah, sure.
manager in a legal store is an actual term.
Oh, you got it. Yeah,
you have to
okay.
have a license for that, and I'm the only one anyways. just to be clear. So anyways, we went to Amsterdam with Shane, and the first thing we did when we got there after 11 hours of traveling and no sleep was go to the banana show. And so we were exhausted and getting drunk, and this girl was just fucking a banana on a stage.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, that sounds like the underwhelming Michael Jackson tribute show at a Cuban resort.
But it's all you can drink. It is all you can drink.
Just like a Cuban
At
resort,
the
yeah.
Sure, yeah, exactly. The best, I think, bang for your buck would be a, what was the quarter one that's
The Peep Show?
The Peep Show, yeah.
Show.
So yeah, so there's this I don't know, cylinder of glass windows and a circular bed in the middle, and it could be any sex show, and you get 2 minutes to see, and it's just I don't know, whatever one of those coins was.
Are they busy? Are they busy?
Packed the whole time.
There's lineups for a Peep Show?
Oh yeah. It's packed because it's just tourists. It's just people like us that are just
It's just for the novelty.
100% locals are not doing that. Locals in Amsterdam don't even go to coffee shops, really. So
I see.
yeah.
But I just, I figured the internet would have wiped out the Peep Show.
No.
I mean, you can't see
live sex is way better than internet sex.
Is it live
it's
sex is
live.
better?
It's right there.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just figured there's no Peep shows in New York City anymore, are there? Is there is that still in North America? I mean, that's not even a thing anymore.
No, it's the novelty of being in the red light district is its own novelty. You're there for that experience.
In the way that,
You're living that red light life.
Netflix got rid of Blockbuster. Just in one fell swoop, boom, Blockbuster's out of business because of Netflix. Streaming put Blockbuster out of business. I figured that Pornhub in the same way would just wipe out.
No, these sex
Peep
workers
shows.
are really good looking. They're really,
Oh,
really good
high
looking.
end,
Yeah,
right?
so it's super
And Dutch too, notoriously beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful people, yeah, really beautiful people. So it's it's not what I think.
Yeah. I remember one time when
Not
I was
what you expect.
when I was younger, I really clued into the fact that the Dutch are beautiful people.
I know.
In I believe it was a Summer Olympics volleyball match or something it was. I was wow, the Dutch.
Dutch people.
Whoa.
So tall, so beautiful. It's the only place we go that Lorenzo is not the tallest guy in the room, and he feels weird.
Yeah.
It's I get it, but when he sees whoa, that's a tall Dutch guy,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Tall Dutch drink of water.
Yeah, they are tall and good looking. I think it's world known.
And it's they aren't so far north that they go up into Iceland. Everyone in Iceland looks angry.
Iceland's cool.
They have this harsh
an
conditions,
airport.
so they've always got a frown on their face. But it's the Dutch are further south enough. I think they've had better weather, so that they've.
The Dutch weather's terrible usually.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It's
see?
Vancouver.
I know nothing about the Netherlands.
It's like Vancouver. It's really
Oh, really?
rainy. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Really.
You guys have spent some time in Vancouver as well, right?
of time in Vancouver,
There's another cannabis stronghold right
Yeah.
here in our own country.
That was lots of time. Our little business has sort of taken us all across the country in a cool way. All across the country and in the coolest parts of Europe, I guess. At least the parts where we can score weed really easily. That's more important.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because it's not Europe. It's really not legal.
No.
That's the other thing we should talk about too. Is all conversations now lead back to the United States and everything.
Yeah.
But Europe, okay. Is there any? But we'll get to the U.S. stuff in a second because they had the election. Sure, Biden, Trump. But it was a big week for drugs in America.
Yeah.
But Europe, I'm just curious. They have is there anything on the schedule for legalization over there?
Well, it's a whole every country's different. Every country's in a different place. Some are more prohibitive than others. Italy is starting to come out as a place where it's called cannabis light, and it would be equivalent to our low THC or also CBD is getting really popular there too, and
Cannabis
in
light,
Greece.
aka what my dad smoked in the 60s.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like, so I'm like, it really sounds great right now.
Sorry,
but
my dad doesn't actually smoke and never did smoke weed, by the way, for the record. I'm sure he's like, I did not!
just to be clear.
But our dad, like quote unquote.
Yeah. Our collective dad. The collective dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, Amsterdam, it's actually just like decriminalized in small amounts. So even the way that they sell there, it's like they're like Ontario is more progressive now than Amsterdam in that way.
Right, yeah. So on to America. Obviously, by the time of this broadcast, apparently it looks like Joe Biden is going to be the new president. But, he's not sitting in the seat yet. We'll see.
Well, once he's no longer president, he'll just be dragged out of there, and that's that.
Well, yeah, there is that. And then then there's this right here. Heroin, cocaine, and meth are now decriminalized in Oregon. Basically everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Like, I thought that maybe magic mushrooms were next on the docket, the psilocybin.
And they actually did fully legalize shrooms, too.
In Oregon?
In Oregon.
Okay, yeah. But there was also multiple states. More states now. The majority of states in America are now, after this election, that's the thing that nobody's really published a lot of, are now legalizing marijuana on various different levels, because obviously states have their own rights. But
well, this was also supposed to be a Biden-Harris campaign promise that it would be descheduled, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or decriminalized, or fully legalized. There was definitely some pro-cannabis positions from their camp, which is a term for Kamala Harris.
I think that campaign promises changed by the minute this past year. So, I think that they morphed multiple times, but yeah.
I read an article recently that he's gonna be enforcing executive order on a lot of things and reversing a lot of things that was done by the
previous administration. Should we, like Voldemort? Can we say we're not going to say his name, like Voldemort? Okay.
I hate him honestly so much.
I know.
I hate him so much.
I know.
So this is like definitely like I felt more compelled. Like any of the Canadian candidates, whatever. But when it came to this one, I just want to see him go down so hard.
And it looks like it. That was the other thing, too. And again, TMZ, I think, reported this yesterday on Saturday that he was on the golf course when he found out that Biden had been declared by even Fox News. And that's a tweet that I put out there. I was like, hey, the fat lady singing when Fox News has declared Joe Biden the president, right?
Well, it's just it's like... We've gone back and forth on this. Like, Lorenzo at one time was like, well, is George W. Bush the worst president? Like, he started the Iraq War. Like, that, so many lives lost. Like, well, now after the pandemic, so many lives were lost in the U.S. too. And I don't really know what those numbers are.
Yeah, I mean, they're going up every day. You turn on CNN every day after now that the election's over, and even before this week of elections, every day you turn on CNN, it was like, America's highest day ever for coronavirus. I'm like, yeah, every day is the highest day. It keeps going up.
Yeah, well, I did not feel, as somebody like in the cannabis industry, did not feel comfortable crossing the border at all to go to the U.S., which sucks because like one of my very good friends lives there, and like we've visited a little bit, but really did not feel comfortable in the last couple of years going at all anyways. But now that there's like some
it's so funny how
restored, I'll go back.
One change of government or one party can make people want to travel and one cannot. Isn't that interesting? Like, and I think it for me, even before the pandemic, we'd looked at maybe going down to the U.S. for a trip or for a road trip or something.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I just feel like, not that we're easy prey or easy anything. I just felt like there was just so many people flashing guns. So many people like, and trust me, I don't want to go down this road too hard, but like there is part of me that understands the gun thing in America. Like, I do understand why they have that rule or why they have that law in there. There's part of me that disagrees, but there's part of me that also agrees. But it didn't matter because it was more so the type of people that were out there waving those guns, or the type of people that were emboldened by the president to be confrontational with people and to, and I just felt like that wasn't the, just who knows what kind of random interaction you could have at a gas station with somebody.
I know.
Like it just felt like Americans were a wild card for the last 4 years, and I never knew how to take any of them.
I agree, and
Yeah.
I never. And I mean, I never felt like that once when I was ever like in the craziest, like most, like anywhere in Europe. I never felt like that. I've never felt like that when I was in Jamaica. I never felt like that when I was in but I did feel like that when I was in the States. Like it felt like the air was different.
Yeah. There was just something in like a powder keg mentality or a short fuse mentality. Or I don't know what it was.
Like, will this mall have a shooting while I'm at it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, did Vegas have 2, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vegas had 2 in like a year and a half or something. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, great. Well, we're not going to Vegas.
Exactly.
Anyways, but back to the drug thing. What do you think with Oregon's decision? Like all drugs, like that's Portugal style, right?
That's the way it
Portugal
should
has decriminalized everything, and you guys are in favor of that.
100%. This is the way that it should be, and people should not be criminalized for nonviolent drug offenses anywhere ever in the world. So yeah, we've been proponents of full legalization of all drugs, legalization and sale, so that it's
Hang on though, like
regulated.
legalization and sale of crack or meth.
Heroin, of everything.
Really, eh?
100%, because I would rather have a regulated, lab tested, nurse administered dose of whatever where I'm monitored and it's not being mixed with anything I shouldn't have.
But the argument, I think, that in Portugal, though, like it was that these people, and the stats are pretty strong, like and they did this a long time ago. When did they decriminalize everything?
1991 or 92?
Yeah, the early 90s, mid 90s. Yeah, exactly. And so they've got a lot of years of study to show that, people will not drift towards drug addiction for some of these heavier, dutier drugs, and that they're able to get the social services to get off them.
Yeah,
right?
And it's now they were facing an opioid epidemic, and now it's at all-time low. So it's, I mean, you have to give people a reasonable exit route that doesn't involve jail and doesn't involve necessarily religion and doesn't necessarily involve like what people's recovery and what people do in their spare time is nobody's business.
Yeah.
But you should at least give them a safe route of either stopping or using if they want or need to. Yeah,
because that seems to be for someone who wants to say get off an opioid or off something that's super physically addictive. It's so funny you mentioned the church thing. Like there's only a couple of options, and even AA meetings are heavily based in Jesus Jesus talk. Yeah,
and that's like for me, like I'm an atheist, so I'm fine with whatever anybody else believes, but I don't believe in anything. So going to something that's a faith-based.
Yeah. It's just an instant turn off, right? It's an instant turn off, right?
No, I don't think that would help me if I was trying to stop something.
Yeah.
There needs to be a recognition, especially like where the church is right now, like without getting into that too deep.
Let's avoid.
That's another story.
We've covered
for another day.
We've covered a few topics here today. Maybe religion is one that we'll back off of for a second.
But in realistic, when it comes to drugs, there needs to be other paths for other people because it's just different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, once you've tried heroin, faith is not going to cut it.
So,
I need the real stuff.
You can't pray heroin away.
No, no. So there's something, and it's like for me, my drug of choice is probably like cannabis and sugar, obviously,
Sugar, by the way, is like cocaine for babies. Last night, episode 1 of our podcast, we announced that my wife is pregnant and Lisa's pregnant, and the baby is, honey, is it 18 weeks today? We're at 18 weeks today, and last night, Lisa was just munching on Sour Patch Kids. Like she just wasn't realizing how many she was putting into her mouth.
Like a slow Tuesday.
Yeah, and I don't know what we were doing last night. We were just watching TV, and she just kept shoveling them in. And then all of a sudden, she felt like baby was doing somersaults in her stomach. Like it was like beep, 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 like a Ferris wheel or like some kind of like yeah, the monkey was like jumping up on the jungle gym doing all sorts of craziness because of all the sugar she ate. And I was like, oh my God, it's baby cocaine. That's what it is.
That.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's going somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm sorry. I mean, there's probably some parents out there that are like, you're a fucking idiot. What do you not think that sugar fucking ramps up kids? Like, what's wrong with you?
Right now, we're all like 4 non-parents.
Yeah.
One's pregnant. Like,
3.5. Yeah, 3.5. 3.5 non-parents in the room here, but yeah.
No, definitely legalizing all drugs is better for the next generation of kids as well because people still have children, and those children need to have destigmatized access to their parents.
Well, it's good to see that idea finally gain some traction politically because, like, it's been the case that, like, the government, like, over the years, whether it's the Canadian government or the U.S. government, they've looked at the drug laws and they've always put out a report saying, what should we do with this shit show? And the official opinion has always been, like, putting people in jail is wrong. We're causing more harm than good. And they've always recommended legalizing drugs, going back to the 70s, the Senate report in 2001 or whatever. Yeah, all those reports that have always been commissioned. Like the UN, all those people have looked at the drug issue. They've always said, like, no, we can't have this prohibition. It's bullshit.
Prohibition is making
But politically,
it's
not a winner,
dangerous.
and that's the reality. Like, people are very passionate about drugs being bad. That idea is deep set.
Well, and again, I didn't know this was going to be America, the podcast, but here's my take on why all this sort of happens is that jail is its own economy because it's privatized, right? So jailing people is an economy. Police force, vice squads, that's an economy unto itself because it gives people jobs. And again, police work is as a noble work. I'm not on the defund train or anything. No. But again, like, it is part of the economy. And in America, guns are part of the economy. And because healthcare is privatized for the most part in America, all those things, guns, shootings, healthcare, that all is a moneymaker right there. That's money. That's people pay to get healthy after getting shot. People pay to buy a gun to shoot someone. Like, that is all economy. So I can understand why jail is its own economy that's so hard and has so many lobbyists or so much money tied up in it that it's hard for them to
I don't believe
turn that down.
You can still legalize drugs without defunding the police. You can just reallocate those funds to places that need them more, like finding missing and murdered Indigenous women or solving other violent crimes that haven't been remain unresolved in all of Canada and the U.S. There's lots of other things police can be doing, and healthcare, which drug use is a healthcare issue. It's not a criminal issue. It's not something that police should be dealing with. This is something for medical professionals and scientists to decode. And, if that means safe supply, that means safe supply.
Right.
Like, people are worried about their children getting access. Listen, if your kid wants drugs, they'll find the drugs. And if they don't, they won't. I have never done anything, any serious hard drugs. So, have I been around or have I seen hard drugs in my life? Of course. But it doesn't mean that I've done them or do them.
Yeah, I mean, even as a kid, like, anyone knew in our small town, if you wanted drugs, you knew where to go.
Exactly.
Like, it wasn't a, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a mystery, but you had to make the decision to or not to, or what crowd of people to hang with and what crowd of people not to hang with.
Well, and even, honestly, and there's no judgment for people who are using other drugs. And in fact, I think that, like, that's where it goes. Like, I think that especially psychedelics are more helpful than harmful and need to be fully legalized, which they just also did in Oregon.
So so let's get into the magic mushroom thing, because I know that there's a lot of people now. It's like an influencer trend. So I'm always asking myself, is it really a fucking trend, or is it someone who wrote a blog that says that it's a trend? and just called it a trend.
Well,
But
drugs is not a trend. Like, people have always used.
yes, thank you. Yeah, drugs are not a trend.
This is not
a
going
new
anywhere.
one, anyways.
This is
Yeah.
people just aren't talking about it. Just because they don't talk about it doesn't mean it hasn't been happening
Yeah.
since the beginning of time. Like, even if people do want to talk about Jesus, anyways, it's a whole thing. There's lots of.
Oh yeah, what is it?
Holy
The stoned
anointing
ape?
oil.
Is that the
No.
book? Is it what is it? Stoned ape theory? Anyways.
So, anyways, there's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah,
drugs are not going anywhere. But when it comes to mushrooms, like, this is another like helpful, harmless substance that should also be legal. Like, I think that decriminalization is going to be coming to Canada. I think psychedelics, especially helpful psychedelics like mushrooms, LSD, MDMA, all of these ones will be legalized, not just within our lifetime, but I think
soon?
Like 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
That soon?
Yeah.
It's so funny to think that because, I mean, even for me, back when I first met you guys, it even felt to me anyways, as an outsider, like a bit of a pipe dream that we were going to get, at least to the level that we have it now even. Like, I thought maybe there would be a chance, like, oh, okay, I could get a doctor's note. Like there would be one of those.
Yeah.
But no,
the doctor's notes are coming for mushrooms. And, they've already excused, there were 4 people that
Really?
were given palliative doses of MDMA recently, or was it mushrooms? Anyways, it was one of them. They were given some in BC. So that's how it started with cannabis, and this is how it's going to start with other proven safe substances in whatever doses. There's way more harmful drugs on the market. Do we need to talk about Purdue Pharma and their recent court settlement where they had to, 88 billion or something like that?
What's this? No, tell me more. Yeah.
I don't quote me on the number because it's just like I'm always stoned when I read things, but Purdue Pharma, $888 billion gazillion dollars.
Now listen, you're starting to sound like Voldemort. Like,
Yeah.
people are saying things. I hear things.
But no, it was definitely Purdue Pharma, who's the maker of OxyContin, had to
basically dissolve their whole structure. But also,
Yeah.
it goes to show you that people are willing to. Look what you can't trust the medical establishment to have safe drugs. Look at the whole Oxy scandal, right? Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Like the pills are out of control. That's, to be honest, the biggest epidemic out there in terms of pharmaceuticals and drugs. If you want to talk about drug problems, it's the fentanyl patches and the pill popping and all that kind of stuff that really is eroding. And it's especially eroding society or eroding families and people's lives because it's silent. Because, you can smoke a doobie out in the back and, maybe the neighbors will have to close their windows, whatever. But, you can pop pills and nobody knows.
Yeah.
It's silent.
You can tell.
You can usually tell, yeah. Like, we've been dealing with the public enough at this point that it's very clear.
I guess, yeah, you guys have, but all sorts of clientele that come in off the street.
Back in the day, we used to see all kinds of people. Before the medical program with cannabis was established, we would always see people coming in looking to buy seeds or grow their own, or
because they wanted to
get
use it
off
as an
of all
exit
those
drug.
medications. Like, we used to have that conversation on a daily
Yeah.
basis more than once. Like, oh, I'm on these pills. Can I get a prescription for my cannabis?
There's
Like,
a
we hear all
huge
the
gap
time.
in the medical system where doctors are sending people to talk to us about what they think that their medical cannabis plan should be when the doctors should doctors be the gatekeepers? No, but it was pretty pathetic the whole time because we were really there towards the fall of the medical cannabis. Now
The tail end of it all, yeah.
It still exists. I still have my current license, but that's just for growing.
It's just, it's just,
So
it's just the paperwork end of things, right? Yeah. So back to the trend I was talking about, obviously, magic mushrooms are a trend, but the trend that I've seen a lot of people blogging about, maybe it is or it isn't, confirm or deny,
don't even say it.
Microdosing?
I am more of a macro doser. I do not believe in microdosing anything. I don't I'm an all or nothing person, right?
So, but okay, so for those who don't know, microdosing is basically taking small amounts of magic mushrooms per day, or maybe once at breakfast and once at dinner, something like that. That the very slow trickle in of psilocybin somehow helps depression or helps alleviate various anxieties and symptoms. But no, you like the macro.
Like,
I would say good luck getting the dose right, I guess.
yeah, exactly. Especially, and that's the other thing too, and that's why legalization also needs to happen, because people do need to know what. Listen, I'm not a microdoser, but I'm also like not a microdoser of cannabis either. Like I smoke heavily, like, and that's not for everybody. And I realize that I am
an anomaly,
strong outlier. Yeah, super outlier. So that's not like not everybody eats a quarter of shrooms, but people around have been known to.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
So, but it's just like, and it's a lot for a lot of people. Whereas, like if we talk about somebody else who shall remain nameless that we both know that is an avid microdoser. I mean, listen, he has the best attitude out of any of us. He is like a super great dude in so many ways, and maybe that's greatly attributed to the microdosing. And maybe I need a little more serotonin in my life. Don't get me wrong.
But is there, so like on the science end of microdosing though, like obviously you have your preference to macrodose, but like is there something to it, do you think? Like is it, because that seems to be the big push on the legalization side for medicinal reasons.
For me, that's disappointment. Like for me, it's like not getting effed up.
Well, we can take the lesson from cannabis and the medical use of cannabis as the great Trojan horse against the drug war, because once you had medical use, then slowly, the logic behind it all fell apart. It's like, well, if I can go to my doctor and claim I have pain that can't be proven other than by my claim and get a drug, then how do I deserve to have it when you can't, So yeah, I'm all for the medical use of mushrooms. Sure. Let's knock the walls down.
But I'm all for the everybody recreational use of mushrooms as well.
I see.
Because but it's the same thing as cannabis. Like if you dig a little deeper, is your cannabis use medical? Are you trying to relax? How is that not based on your are you trying to improve your well-being or your outlook or your aspect? Like people use cannabis instead of antidepressants. So like without talking about how cannabis has a layer, like I think that that's separating two sides of the same horseshoe. Like it's like.
Well, I do like the idea and that you're talking about, especially when we're talking about being able to microdose, but being able to microdose effectively, being able to have it legalized so that you can have the packaging and you can understand it.
Well, look at edibles. Look at edibles on the cannabis side.
That's the point that I'm trying to make, though, is that I still don't really trust the packaging on my edibles for cannabis.
Well, so listen, the edibles, so. When it comes to the argument between the regulated and the deregulated market, which is the best way to refer to people who don't have their store license.
So by deregulated, you mean like, for example, there's a section like an indigenous reserve that has their own shops that aren't government sanctioned.
Or maybe you could call them self-regulated.
Yeah, autonomous.
Yeah, that's maybe
it's an autonomous cannabis zone.
We're regulated by the AGCO. So for anybody who's not regulated by the AGCO, it's really hard to know, like cannabis is cannabis. Cannabis is cannabis is cannabis. There's good and bad legal cannabis and there's good and bad unregulated cannabis, period. Like some people grow well, some people don't. Some buyers at the provincial government are great, some are not. Like it's the same in both. Like we're all human.
Yeah, so. we're all gonna be subject to the same variants that these products have.
And listen, even in the legal market, THC can be added to anything. So like some of these very suspicious, very even 20.0 THC readings consistently on every batch, no matter what. Like so
that was the next question too, was like, when I buy a tin or a canister of flour, and it says it's 25% THC, like how?
It's been tested.
How sure
There's
am I?
definitely a certificate of, what's it called?
It's like,
authentication.
Yeah, it's like when you it's like when you get sports memorabilia, it comes with a certificate.
Yeah. So they're all certified, and like those are the accurate THC readings of whatever was sent to the official who made the report. So that is what it is, from at least that batch. But how the batch buds are selected and.
But as a consumer, like we want more clarity on the process and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think that's generally what you want from a tested product, is to have some kind of test on it to get the.
But the fact is, an unregulated one has no testing, and there's
Yeah.
no way to know. Like the fact is, a good example would be we went to San Francisco a few years ago, and I had gotten my medical license in California so that I would be able to go into the stores.
Nice.
And Lorenzo is my caregiver. So,
Sorry, a little bore out there. Very nice.
yeah,
Anyways,
exactly.
I'm stuck on it since that stupid movie came out the other day.
But so how in Ontario we have 10 milligrams for every label, they don't really have those rules in California. So we were able to get these really good chocolate bars that were like the regular size of a chocolate bar, but were like maybe 150 or 250 milligrams. Either way, every square was like 50 milligrams or 30 milligrams, let's say. So you were taking what you thought were known doses.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that I would need to have like a couple of these chocolate bars because being used to the deregulated market, you know, they would say, oh, there's 500 milligrams.
Right, yeah.
There's
So you're like,
1,000 milligrams.
yeah,
I'm
but
like,
I need to double down.
yeah, exactly. So I got so wrecked in California because a legal, properly measured, consistent dose, especially when it comes to extracts and edibles, is necessary. Like with weed, you know, weed is weed. But when it comes to these things that have been mixed and made and are packaged, like I'm buying it for the consistency and for knowing that it's being tested. So
Yeah.
the 10 milligrams per, you know, like if there's a little square like this big and it's 10 milligrams per square, like you will feel 30. I feel 30 milligrams, like 30 milligrams, and I'm like functional and I can do it. You know, 50 milligrams is party time, and 70 milligrams is like
It's night.
you know, 70 milligrams is what I took to get through the drive here. So that's a
Nap time, yeah.
74 milligrams actually.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it's like a measured dose, so I know what I need, and so that's the one thing that I think that the legal market, and the other thing would be like balanced weed. That's not something that you really found too much on the unregulated market, where
Right.
it's like an equal THC to CBD representation.
Right, yeah, yeah. Because sometimes you find hard one way or like hard THC or hard CBD
well, it
one
would
way
be
or the other.
mostly like marketed as like high THC, and that
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, like everybody wants high THC, but there's a surprising amount of people who also want like
Yeah,
balanced products too,
yeah. And
including our staff.
for me, I'm done. I think. Sorry, we as a household, we're done with the unregulated edibles. Because there was, and this was this is a while ago, but anyways,
Take a little or take a lot.
I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was like a Kit Kat bar or something, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this looks good. Anyways, yeah, like I saw my hand moving in slow motion in front of my face, like it was intense.
Well, it's
Yeah.
being like it's going through your liver, so it takes a little bit longer to kick in, and like I
Is
have
there
a
s-
theory it's more if you eat more than you get more stoned.
That's what I was
my
gonna
own
say.
theory.
Yeah, like
Lorenzo
what?
doesn't believe me.
Really? So
So.
obviously it's anecdotal.
1 out of 2 experts agree.
Yeah, there's some anecdotal evidence, or there's some anecdotal stories when it comes to this. But like, what's your experience, Lorenzo? Like, what do you think?
Just that drugs taken on an empty stomach hit faster for the most part.
That is not my experience at all, especially when it
Stands
comes.
to reason. I mean,
Okay, listen. There was this time we were
Ding ding ding.
yeah, we went to Amsterdam, and me and Shane had both, because Shane was with us as well, and we had both taken capsules before we left. I went to Kaplansky's and got a potato latke. Shane thought he needed to have an empty stomach and didn't get anything. We were mid-flight.
were these consistent legal products, or some
No.
of them nebulous?
Yeah, no,
Oh,
like
these
these were
were-
unregulated.
I
Like
see,
this
yeah.
was before then. So, but either way, like I was wrecked on the flight, and Shane was like, I was sitting next to him, like, "Are you so stoned?" And he's like, "No."
Obviously, we need some experiments done on this, whether or not eating
Okay.
a cheeseburger gets you more high.
It
at the same time.
does.
There has to be a limit,
Listen,
obviously.
this is my
There has to be
theory.
a limit.
Your stomach it's doing the work already for other foods, so it's working a little bit harder than if it's not doing anything. It's just like waking it up, like, oh hey, there's something in your stomach, like hey,
So it's already, the engine's already running.
the engine's
Yeah.
running. It's like going into a warm car.
You're right.
Well, I guess, yeah, eating a heavy-duty edible would be like getting into a warm car with a seat warmer on blast, and yeah.
That's right, exactly.
guess,
That's it. So, anyways, I always have munchies, so that's.
This is, yeah.
I've never tested it the other way, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we did stock up the fridge here. Have you even had a beer, Lorenzo?
Yeah, I had one on the go.
Oh, you doing? Okay, good. Yeah, so we got a beer fridge in the studio now, by the way, which has been awesome. An awesome addition from my wife. And sorry, God, I can't stop it, you guys. I can't stop it. But we do have, so we got a beer fridge, and even you can just see a bit off to Lorenzo's. You got some chips over there and some con queso and everything.
They need to bring back Austin Powers so we have all those taglines we can reuse again. You know?
Man, listen, like.
I think you can still use them.
You can still, well, the only reason that you can still say my wife and do the Borat things is, in my opinion, it's because there's a sequel. But if Borat hadn't come out with a sequel, you can't do that, right?
I think everybody said my wife. Like, I would say that to Katy Perry. Like, if I was, like, in text to her or, like, to Emily, I'd be like, my wife.
But,
like, am I, like, the guy that's still saying, like, what's up?
That's what I was saying. What's up? What's up? Yeah. I feel like that it's like that, but they have to bring "was up" back, and nobody brought it back.
Borat movie is overrated.
Really? Yeah, I felt the same way. I wanted to like it. Did you? You do like Sacha Baron Cohen though, right?
Love him.
Yeah.
Love Borat. I felt like the first Borat was way better. I thought the second one was like a little cringe in some places, but like I guess I was just really hoping so much more from the Rudy Giuliani scene than what I got.
It was all bluster, eh?
Yeah.
And so I thought that was like not great, and I went out and bought a Fire Stick just so I could watch Borat.
So you signed up for Amazon Prime just for it?
Yes, I signed up to Amazon Prime, and like there we go. Jeff Bezos gets another $7.89 out of me.
Yeah, but
and Amazon Prime is good.
You are gonna get your shipping like lickety split now.
I never order anything from Amazon.
Yeah, but now you're going to. That's the thing. You're like, well, we have Prime, we might as well.
Well, Alexa's listening to me through my TV remote. So we did watch 2 other new shows that are good.
Oh yeah, did you watch The Boys?
Yes.
On Prime? Yeah, The Boys is great, eh?
Yeah, we really we watched that the whole way through. We just finished that one.
Nice.
And it was good. It was good.
There's a certain, like, listen, you have to sort of kind of like fantasy, comic book kind of things for The Boys to really get into it. But I think the average person can get into it too.
It's a lot of Toronto in there. So it's like hard to like.
I didn't know that. Is it shot in Toronto?
Everything is Toronto. Oh my God, Kris.
Listen, okay, so I didn't.
It's completely.
know.
It's like that.
Somebody tells you to watch something, you click on it, you watch it, you enjoy it. I didn't know that.
Like the whole tower is Roy Thompson Hall. The tower that they're in.
I don't know, man. I didn't. Listen, I knew it looked nice. It looked like a nice city that they're blowing up half the time.
Exactly. But we also watched Euphoria.
Is that a good one too? Euphoria?
Good.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. With John Cusack.
Yeah. Like, there's so many things now. There's so many shows.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? There was something that they was like, oh, yeah, this is debuting on Apple TV next week. And I was like, that sounds awesome.
So now you have to get Apple
But
TV.
then I thought about it. I'm like, I'm not fucking signing up for another streaming service. Are you kidding me?
Like, we still have regular, like, TV. Like
exactly.
landline TV.
Exactly.
Like, whatever that is.
Well, and have you noticed, too? Like, I have Rogers Cable. What do you guys have? Do you guys have a cable package?
All 5.
Bell, yeah. So, like, any major cable package, it's like they're now melding it with apps. And they're now trying to create a hybrid service that hooks you in, that like, and we've got Crave, and and it'll run your Netflix app and these things.
Well, definitely being off during the pandemic, we went through it all, so.
Yeah. That's the one thing we're not going to run out of, is the demand for television shows on our home screens, right?
Yeah.
And cannabis to go with them, because we all know there ain't nothing like a good stream with a little toke.
Yeah, definitely. It was lucky that we were able to open back up in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah, that must have been harrowing, right? Did you guys you guys hadn't even gotten your store license by the time the pandemic hit, right?
So So we had to close at the end of March because that was just the Ontario thing to do.
Yeah, shut down. Yeah.
And about a week later.
But that was just the smoke shop, like just the bong and pipe shop.
Yeah, because we were still, like, we were undergoing construction a little bit when we left, and we had hoped that construction would be able to continue, but it couldn't because everything got shut down for a few weeks there.
Yeah. And now finally you're getting around to getting the electrical fixed on that sign of yours.
Oh yeah, like it's such a pain. I love that sign, so I want it to work.
I do too. I love that article, and I love everything that they said about you guys in that article.
I know,
there.
It was like one of the nicest like articles ever written, honestly. About us.
So we'll wrap this up, and I'll just show this again. Behold, a weed store that looks like it actually sells weed. Calyx and Trichomes Cannabis. Midland Avenue, sorry.
Yeah.
Midland Avenue in Kingston. And I wish you guys the best. It's been an awesome journey, and I love hearing about it. I'm sure there's a million things after the fact. We're probably going to go get something to eat or hang out or, step out on the back patio for a little, and I'm sure we'll think of 1,000 other stories and funny things we could have said. So as you guys know, you're welcome back on the podcast anytime. And you guys have been longtime friends and collaborators. I remember you guys back when you just had the smoke shop. You had me and my other buddy Rev. We voiced your TV commercial. I was a cartoon dog in this TV commercial.
It got too hot to handle, and the Ad Council of Canada forced us to take it off the air.
Yeah, like that's how long I've known you guys. When you couldn't advertise a bong shop or a pipe shop, a paper shop on television.
But we're the first cannabis accessories company to advertise on TV, as far as we know.
On CBC. We were on the CBC.
Really? You guys, Canadian Broadcast Network?
There was literally like a Maple Leafs game, and then one of our ads came on. It was like, what?
Hey, listen. That is, to me, if you get an ad that comes on during a Maple Leafs game, you've made it in Canada. You've made it in Canada.
I think so.
Yeah.
At least Kingston.
Genoway, Lorenzo, thanks for being on the podcast. And episode 2, we'll call it a wrap. Oh, actually, no, before we go, what the fuck is a trichome? Calyx and trichomes?
So
or if it's a long explanation, which it sounds like it might be.
It is.
Where could people find out what a trichome is?
Just go to calyxandtrichomes.com.
There we go. Go to their website and they can find out what the heck a trichome is. Yeah. But if I'm not mistaken, it's the dust on the plant that gets you stoned, right?
I hope it's not dust, but
no, it's the crystal. It's the crystal. Nice. Okay, good. Short story long. Thanks everyone for tuning in. It was a great episode, great chat today, and it will be available by audio stream for those who subscribe via Spotify. Big Kris Live on Spotify, Big Kris Live on Apple Podcasts. It's available after the fact on YouTube, and thank you for tuning in via Facebook Live. We'll chat again soon. There are no specifically scheduled episodes, but we're aiming for at least one a week. So thank you again. Subscribe, like, and advertise. That's right. We're still looking for advertisers. All right. Thank you.